Welcome, friends. So I recently shared a video where I talked about a message that came through around this idea that humanity is one soul and all human beings are parallel lives of that soul. But I wanted to explain it in greater detail because I think that it creates a framework that we can continue to expand outwards and inwards, depending on what you're needing in the moment. But this idea that humanity is one soul and all beings, all humans, for right now in the conversation, are parallel lives of that soul. And if the idea of parallel lives is new, it's talked about in various ways. If you see yourself as an individuated soul, the fact that you are living parallel lives in infinite universes, right? The idea that maybe in the life that you're attuned to at this moment, you have a bedroom with the wall colors blue. Maybe there's a parallel universe where it's yellow. Maybe there is a parallel universe in which you are doing van life. And I'm not sure if this is talked about, but I was listening to a lucid dreaming book and they were talking about false awakenings when lucid dreaming, which is when you wake up from a lucid dream, you're in your room or wherever you're sleeping, but then you realize something is different and then you recognize that you're still dreaming. The moment I heard this, I thought, well, what if it's not a false awakening, but you're actually awakening into a parallel life? So I haven't actually looked into it, if that's a belief. I'm sure someone believes it out there. But in the comments, please let me know if anyone knows any details about that. But that's kind of the idea of the parallel lives. At the same time, there's this idea that we live in the space-time continuum, is what it's referred to in science. And outside of the space-time continuum, there is no time. So all of the lives in which we've lived are happening now. And the way it's often talked about in terms of wrapping one's mind around that is if you're watching TV or listening to the radio or watching a streaming service, at least if it's streaming, it feels like there's an infinite possibilities of options. And you were in choice as to what you were tuning into. And you're, at least with old school TVs and radios, you turn the dial. And it's the same idea as tuning into a life that's happening simultaneously or parallel to the one that you're attuned to at this moment. So that's kind of the same idea about this, is that humanity, Pepper's drinking water, if you can hear him, humanity is a soul. And every single human being is a parallel life that soul is experiencing. So essentially, you watching this, we are the same soul, just having two different experiences, and yet we are connected in this moment as well. Because we're connected in all moments, because we are one. And in the last video, I explained how I'm not saying that this is like true. It's a possibility. But it is a mental framework to wrap one's mind around something that we can't really think about or even really put into words if we were able to understand and hold the vast truth of it all. Wanna come up? So Pepper's going to join us for this too, which also is really kind of perfect for where I'm taking this conversation. So we understand it through an idea, and at least the way that I'm sitting with it, and if it resonates, please have fun with it. If not, move on. But essentially it's this idea of sitting with it to feel into the energy, the essence of the idea, to then release the idea and just allow the essence to be. And that way we can be open to infinite ideas of what's possible and allowing all of them to have merit, not needing something to be right, not labeling something as wrong. And as we can expand what's possible, we expand our consciousness. And to that point, if we can grasp this idea that humanity is a soul, but what if Gaia was one soul, right? So if we expand this idea out that it's not just humanity, but everything on earth, the trees, the flowers, the animals, the bugs, the humans, everything is living a parallel life of that soul. And then when we can hold on to that, if we can expand that out into the galaxy, and if we expand that out and expand that out and expand that out, and so as we can slowly expand this idea, we can then get to this very popular belief that we are fractals of source, is oftentimes how it's described, but that everything is source. And please insert any name that resonates for you, also knowing you don't have to name it, but that everything is source, just having its own unique experience, right? And so many people say that even the idea of life is just simply source wanting to experience itself. And so when I sat with this idea, all of the layers that it was providing in terms of not only expanding one's consciousness, but really coming to terms with the truth of who and what we are and what this all is, which offers a sense of liberation and freedom. It doesn't necessarily make life easier, yet we can move through it, especially the harder times, with more ease. And so I'm going to leave it there. Please feel free to share any comments that are coming up for you around this idea. Again, knowing it's an idea, it's a perspective. It may resonate, parts of it may resonate. Whatever's coming up for you around it is purposeful and useful. So take it as information to move forward, not as something to necessarily agree with or reject, just simply information to use, to attune to energetically, to help navigate you on your own path. Okay, friends, until next time, stay curious.